Good day, YouTubers, brothers and sisters in Christ and YouTube. I've already given an explanation for the t-shirt, but just briefly, we're all prisoners. Depends what we're prisoners of though, doesn't it? Whether we're prisoners of lust, prisoners of greed, prisoners of, prisoners of sin. We can also be prisoners of conscience as well. And, well, I'll say no more on that. Anyway, this is a new venture. This is for those who are Bible believers, and good food for thought. You see, there are books that have been removed from the Bible. This was done by the early Roman Catholic Church, as they deemed them not canonical. In other words, in their eyes, they should not be in God's Word. Now, God's Word does warn not to take away or to add anything to His Word. So I believe that they are under a curse because of that. Now, these books in the Apocrypha, well, I'm halfway through and I don't see anything in there that leads one away from God. Sure, some of them tend to waffle a bit and go into a lot of detail, but the one that has struck me the most is the Wisdom of Solomon, which will be the title of this video blog. In fact, so far I found this to be such an inspiration that I'm going to share the whole 19. And it's not really, you see, they put these, that was another thing I love that David Pawson says in Unlocking the Bible, how, man has made the mistake of putting things into chapters and verses and breaking things up when they should be read all the way through and not broken up like that they have, But I guess this is man's way of dealing with God's wisdom and saying, well, I can only enjoy, I can only handle bite-sized amounts, yeah. But really, it's not the way they were originally written down. But this is the Greek and Roman translations of things that have done this. So today I'm going to share you the first so-called 4 chapters of the Wisdom of Solomon. Don't know when this was written in his life, but it may have been written midway before he started drifting away from the Lord, and as he said on his near his death, vanity of vanities, everything is but vanity. So basically what happened was, because he'd lost his connection with God, and had pretty much tried to find God, so to speak, by indulging in all the worldly things, it left him without hope, despondent, because he'd realised that everything that he'd done had been futile. And that was a sad thing, was because I guess he decided to take so many wives. But I love what David Pawson says, and he says, you can imagine the number of mother-in-laws as well. That would have been a headache in itself. But seriously, yeah, he'd allowed himself to be influenced by the superstitions and pagan practices around him, and had drifted away from the Lord. And well, we know what fruit that has given us in the world. Certain secret societies. But anyway, that's for those to delve into in their own time. But they are affecting what's going on in the world. And the sooner one realises that, the better. Oh yes, and somebody said the other day, and I love this stuff. Oh, the Illuminati, what was it? They were anti-monarchy and they don't exist anymore. Well, what makes you think they don't exist anymore? Wouldn't you, if you was part of a secret society that was being persecuted, not find another way? Would you not see if you could actually join with another society and hide behind their facade? You know, this is always amazing when people just accept the official declaration. You know, like the official declaration is the Illuminati were born on by were created by Adam Weishaupt in Bavaria in 1776. You know, right? You know, then apparently they were persecuted and wiped out. But you know, the law of averages obviously states that some members would have managed to get away. They wouldn't have caught everyone. You know, so where would they have gone? They would have gone and joined another secret society and become part of them. And then over the period of time, they would have merged their doctrines in with the doctrines of that society. But the agenda would still exist, wouldn't it? You know. But anyway, so let us begin. Lord, righteousness, you rulers of the earth. Sorry. Yeah, getting a little bit dark in here. Right, that's better. Love righteousness, you rulers of the earth. Think of the Lord with uprightness, and seek him with sincerity of heart, because he is found by those who do not put him to the test, and manifests himself to those who do not distrust him. For perverse thoughts separate men from God, and when his power is tested, it convicts the foolish, because wisdom will not enter a deceitful soul, nor dwell in a body enslaved to sin. For a holy and disciplined spirit will flee from deceit, and will rise and depart from foolish thoughts, and will be ashamed at the approach of unrighteousness. For wisdom is a kindly spirit, and will not free a blasphemer from the guilt of his words, because God is witness of his inmost feelings, and a true observer of his heart, and a hearer of his tongue. Because the Spirit of the Lord has filled the world, and that which holds all things together knows what is said. Therefore no one who utters unrighteous things will escape notice, and justice, when it punishes, will not pass him by. For inquiry will be made into the counsels of an ungodly man, and report of his words will come to the Lord, to convict him of his lawless deeds. Because a jealous ear hears all things, and the sound of murmurings does not go unheard. Beware then of useless murmurings, and keep your tongue from slander, because no secret word is without result, and a lying mouth destroys the soul. Do not invite death by the error of your life, nor bring on destruction by the works of your hands, because God did not make death, and he does not delight in the death of the living. For he created all things that they might exist, and the generative forces of the world are wholesome, and there is no destructive poison in them, and the dominion of Hades is not on earth, for righteousness is immortal. But ungodly men by their words and deeds summoned death. Considering him a friend, they pined away, and they made a covenant with him, because they are fit to belong to his party. For they reasoned unsoundly, saying to themselves, short and sorrowful is our life, and there is no remedy when a man comes to his end, and no one has been known to return from Hades, because we were born by mere chance, and hereafter we shall be as though we have never been, because the breath in our nostrils is smoke, and reason is a spark kindled by the beating of our hearts. When it is extinguished, the body will turn to ashes, and the spirit will dissolve like empty air. Our name will be forgotten in time, and no one will remember our works. Our life will pass away like the traces of a cloud, and be scattered like mist, that is chased by the rays of the sun, and overcome by its heat. For our allotted time is the passing of a shadow, and there is no return from our death, because it is sealed up, and no more turns back. Come, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that exist, and make use of the creation to the full as in youth. Let us take our fill of costly wine and perfumes, and let no flower of spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they wither. Let none of us fail to share in our revelry. Everywhere let us leave signs of enjoyment, because this is our portion, and this is our lot. Let us oppress the righteous poor man. Let us not spare the widow, nor regard the grey hairs of the aged, but let our might be our law of right, for what is weak proves itself to be useless. Don't we see evidence of that in the world today? We sure do. Let us lie in wait for the righteous man, because he is inconvenient to us and opposes our actions, who reproaches us for sins against the law, and accuses us of sins against our training, He professes to have knowledge of God, and calls himself a child of the Lord. He became to us a reproof of our thoughts. The very sight of him is a burden to us, because his manner of life is unlike that of others, and his ways are strange. We are considered by him as something base, and he avoids our ways as unclean. He calls the last end of the righteous happy, and boasts that God is his Father. Let us see if his words are true. Let us test what will happen at the end of his life. For if the righteous man is God's son, he will help him, and will deliver him from the hand of his adversaries. Let us test him with insult and torture, that we may find out how gentle he is, and make trial of his forbearance. Let us condemn him to a shameful death, for, according to what he says, he will be protected. Thus they reasoned, but they were led astray, for their wickedness blinded them, and they did not know the secret purposes of God, nor hope for the wages of holiness, nor discern the prize for blameless souls. For God created man for incorruption, and made him in the image of his own eternity. But through the devil's envy, death entered the world, and those who belong to his party experience it. But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and no torment will ever touch them. In the eyes of the foolish, they seem to have died, and their departure was thought to be an affliction, and their going from us to be their destruction. But they are at peace, for though in the sight of men they were punished, their hope is full of immortality. Having been disciplined a little, they received great good, because God tested them and found them worthy of himself. Like gold in a furnace he tried them, and like a sacrificial burnt offering he accepted them. In the time of their visitation they will shine forth, and will run like sparks through the stubble. They will govern nations and rule over peoples, and the Lord will reign over them forever. Those who trust in him will understand truth, and the faithful will abide with him in love, because grace and mercy are upon his elect, and he watches over his holy ones. But the ungodly will be punished as their reasoning deserves, who disregard the righteous man, rebel against the Lord. For whoever despises wisdom and instruction is miserable. Their hope is vain, their labours are unprofitable, and their works are useless. Their wives are foolish, and their children evil, their offspring are accursed. For blessed is the barren woman who is undefiled, who has not entered into a sinful union. She will have fruit when God examines souls. Blessed also is a eunuch whose hands have done no lawless deed, and who has not devised wicked things against the Lord. For special favour will be shown him for his faithfulness, and a place of great delight in the temple of the Lord. For the fruit of good labours is renowned, and the root of understanding does not fail. But children of adulterers will not come to maturity, and the offspring of an unlawful union will perish. Even if they live long, they will be held of no account, and finally their old age will be without honour. If they die young, they will have no hope, and no consolation in the day of decision. For the end of unrighteous generations is grievous. Better than this is childlessness with virtue, for in the memory of virtue is immortality, because it is known both by God and by men. When it is present, men imitate it, and they long for it when it is gone, and throughout all time it marches crowned in triumph, victor in the contest for prizes that are undefiled. But the prolific brood of the ungodly will be of no use, and none of their illegitimate seedlings will strike a deep root, or take a firm hold. For even if they put forth boughs for a while, standing insecurely, they will be shaken by the wind, and by the violence of the winds they will be uprooted. The branches will be broken off before they come to maturity, and their fruit will be useless, nor ripe enough to eat, and good for nothing. For children born of unlawful unions are witnesses of evil against their parents when God examines them. But the righteous man, though he die early, will be at rest, for old age is not honoured for length of time, nor measured by number of years. But understanding is grey hair for men, and a blameless life is the ripe old age. There was one who pleased God, and was loved by him, and while living among sinners he was taken up. He was caught up, lest evil change his understanding, or guile deceive his soul. For the fascination of wickedness obscures what is good, and roving desires perverts the innocent mind. Being perfected in a short time, he fulfilled long years, for his soul was pleasing to the Lord. Therefore he took him quickly from the midst of wickedness. Yet the people saw and did not understand, nor take such things to heart, that God's grace and mercy are with his elect, and he watches over his holy ones. The righteous man who has died will condemn the ungodly who are living, and youth that is quickly perfected will condemn the prolonged old age of the unrighteous man. For they will see the end of the wise man, and will not understand what the Lord purposed for him, and for what he kept him safe. They will see and will have contempt for him, but the Lord will laugh them to scorn. After this they will become disillusioned corpses, and an outrage among the dead forever, because he will dash them speechless to the ground, and shake them from the foundations. They will be left utterly dry and barren, and they will suffer anguish, and the memory of them will perish. They will come with dread when their sins are reckoned up, and their lawless deeds will convict them to their faces. See, knows it's broken. This should continue at that point, but I'll break at that point and leave that for now. So, as with all things, thank you to those who bothered to watch my videos and to actually leave comments, even the ones that leave inane ones, such as one character who decided to put LOL on a lot of my presentations, and when asked to explain what part was humorous to him, he said that I'd amused him and that he didn't have to give an explanation of his actions. But anyway, I've retorted back by saying, well, it would be good courtesy for you to do so, because I don't think that I deal with anything, any matter that's humorous, and because we're talking about our future here. As I know I keep on quoting this guy, but I just love reading his Unlocking the Bible. As David Pawson says, we don't perceive the fact that there is a life after death. I don't quite like that wording. I don't see where he's getting that from, to be honest, because it's not really scriptural. Because the way I see Scripture tells us that we die, we go into the ground, we decompose. The breath of life that God gives us goes back to God, and well, we await a resurrection. The glory and power of Jesus when he returns, because as he declares he has the power over death, that he will resurrect us. He has the miraculous power where he can reconstruct us, and it actually says that we will be resurrected in the prime of our life. We'll be like virile young men again. We're not going to be resurrected and as old and decrepit human beings like that went to the grave. We know that even those who have drowned and died at sea, will be resurrected. Everyone's going to be resurrected. And they'll be judged on their works. Those who are wicked will be judged to condemnation and shame. And those who have done good things to blessings and well, I pray, including myself, the crown of immortality. Not much more I can say, really. So anyway, may the Lord bless you all that watch this according to his will, and to be continued. So bye for now.